The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome to Old Space Show. I'm Brandon, and riding shotgun with me is Tony Schaab.
Yes, sir. Back for another exciting adventure.
All right, this series of Old Space Show will follow the exploits of a man and his car, the first season of Knight Rider. Today, we are here to discuss the 7th episode, Not a Drop to Drink.
Very, very specific. In this episode, Michael and Kit are sent to protect a group of ranchers whose water supply is being cut off by a wealthy landowner. Michael meets his match in a hot-headed young widow who leads the fight for their rights and is instructed to make sure she doesn't do anything too impulsive.
All right, this one is directed by Virgil W. Vogel, written by Hannah Louise Shear, starring David Hasselhoff, Edward Mulhare, Patricia McPherson, William Daniels, Harry Carey Jr., Sandra Curry, Jason Evers, Lynn Hamilton, and special guest star footage from Superman the movie.
It's so funny. Like every website you go to read up like the trivia and the goofs for this particular episode, like that's the lead story. It is they
love it.
A little part from Superman. Oh,
Did you know? So Vogel, the director, it was the editor on Touch of Evil.
Ooh.
Or Virgil. Oh, I think it was a he. And This Island Earth. So two different ends of the quality spectrum. Directed The Mole People, 2 episodes of Mike Hammer, 5 episodes of Bonanza, 5 episodes of Mission Impossible, $6 Million Man, the FBI, and 1 episode of Quantum Leap. And our writer Shear wrote for MacGyver 11 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Cagney Lacey, Walker, Texas Ranger, 422 episodes of Port Charles, which is a spinoff of General Hospital, 14 episodes of Days of Our Lives, and 3 episodes of Bold and Beautiful. So a lot of soap opera experience coming here. And yeah, Hollywood greatness of Touch of Evil. Oh, yeah, well, when I worked with Wells, is that what he told? I wonder if he told like Hasselhoff that. Like, well, I worked with Wells on Touch of Evil.
Seems like something you would want to work into casual conversation for sure. So
exactly.
maybe that's why this episode, because he directed so much soap opera stuff, maybe that's why it didn't it feel like extra dramatic to you? Like it really felt like
it was written by the soap opera person.
Okay, maybe that's why. So, they were like trying to push the drama and like everybody's got beef with each other. And then once again, what are we, like 6 episodes in and we've already had, this is our second widow single mother thing. That, like it's this whole, like, there's got to be like the excuses to get Michael in front of ladies is getting real thin right now. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, this one, speaking of the woman, like I kind of felt like they're doing it dirty here because there's a big moment. So this one features a widowed woman with her son who lives with and still coordinates work with her father-in-law.
Right.
And there's a scene where the father-in-law is like, I see how you look at that, Michael. She's like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's okay, and like, he seems like, but she's not going to go to the next episode. Like, it's horrible.
They never do.
Doesn't go anywhere. If anything, she'll be like scorned or something. Like that's kind of like, were you preparing a series of episodes with this woman and they said no and they left the script, or I don't know.
Wouldn't that be a heck of a spin-off idea for Knight Rider to go back and follow all the women, to continue their story for another episode, or like give them a 3-episode arc of after Michael,
Yeah. Like after
after
Michael.
night.
Or they have like
Quiet, yes.
a group meetings about I dated Michael Knight for
I
a
like it. Yeah.
day or a week. Such a
I dig
charming
it.
man comes into your life, has that sweet car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm like, I get it, but it feels kind of wrong. Like, you know where
They
this
really,
goes.
yeah, they were very committed to the girl a week format. Like, yeah, they really like, and I don't, because we haven't seen an episode yet that didn't have like this one was probably of all the episodes was like the lightest in terms of pushing like the romance. Like she's
Right.
very like independent. Like I don't
She don't
don't
want him
need
there.
him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. I mean, eventually she comes around a little bit and things like that. But yeah, yeah, they definitely push this format very, very hard. In tandem with, I can't remember if it's this episode. It might be the next episode we're doing, but spoilers. Like, but they do this pretty routinely where they also talk about all of the other girls that Michael
Yeah.
continues to
It
mess with
becomes
on
a
the
thing.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kit likes
Like,
to
oh,
mention
last
that.
night you did this. Oh yeah. Kit loves to blow him up for his exploits.
Yeah. There's a line coming up in one of these that I I wrote down because I was like, gee, man, they really like to hammer home that, like, whenever we catch up with Michael, by the way, between this week and last week, he was with some women, okay?
Yes, P.S. Well, and this episode too, though, Bonnie features again, which is great.
Mhm.
Bonnie gets her standard scene or whatever, but she's telling him that she put a grappling hook in Kit, which
Oh, yeah.
obviously becomes relevant later in the episode. But there's this weird like the way she's telling him and the way Michael is like standing over her.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
the most forced. Like it's not meant to be like I feel like in my mind like this shouldn't be as creepy as it is, but it's very
It's
like
this
you can't make a
steamy Michael
grappling hook
Bonnie
sound.
flirtation.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
right. They're
oh,
like that's yeah, where are you gonna put that big hook? I'm like like they didn't say that, but like it's like this weird thing of like what are you doing with this here? Where are we going
well,
here?
and it's not even at like it's not even like a money penny James Bond thing where it's just like, this is what we do. It's not going to happen. Like, Bonnie doesn't really flirt back or something. Or she's like, wait, do you want to date me, Michael? Like, what? That's kind of how she is. Like, there's no, because, yeah, there's a fine line. Like, perfection of this is money penny James Bond, where it's
Yes.
cute, it works, but at the end of the day, they both know they're just playing. Like that's
Yeah.
it. That doesn't feel like that with Bonnie and Michael. Michael just, it feels like the minute Michael gets her, she's gonna quit because she gets sick of him and she's gone. Like it doesn't.
I feel like Bonnie is a relationship girl. She's like a
Yeah.
whiner and diner. She's not like a she's not like a take me out once and I'm yours
Mhm.
type of thing. She's like, you gotta work for Bonnie. Maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe it's not
Mhm.
translating the way they wanted it to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just weird because she only gets literally 3 minutes an episode. I don't know.
Yeah. They're figuring it out, and then apparently according to executives or something, it doesn't work out because she gets replaced in the next season. But
Yeah.
and she comes back later. But this also, I know it's another like kind of political hire episode where like something political brings Michael and stuff in the fold, because Devin's already in place in the beginning of this
Right.
to witness everything. There's like a land dispute and a lot of sabotage from a company that wants the land, trying to destroy a dam, and they're trying to help the rightful owners hold on to it against all attacks. So Michael's sent out there.
Yeah, so I mean, I appreciate like yeah. So again, we're getting these like seemingly very small time kind of squabbly things, which I appreciate that like not every episode has to be like a save the
Mhm.
nation kind of vibe.
Right.
So I mean I appreciate, and maybe that's what they were going for with Flag is like maybe Flag's intent is to stand up for the small guy and things like that. So this feels in line with that, which is nice, but at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of kind of heavy-handed like political, and that might be a byproduct of the time. I mean, I
Mhm.
know, the mid 80s. I mean, what time in our era of the last 40, 50 years hasn't been political to some degree, of course, but
Right.
um, you
I
know,
mean, everything's it's I know a lot of people are always like, they just so political now. They always have been. It's just now you're old enough to recognize the politics.
Oh,
That's the
100%.
only difference. And there's politics to recognize here. There's small town politics. They're business versus, small people thing. But like this could have easily been the plot of a Dukes of Hazzard episode too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like this could have been like this. This was like the kind of plot that you expected to come up on any, action TV show you had of the era. Like a lot of these are like there's
Yes.
Knight Rider's more about the way we go about doing things rather than trying to have some like original tactics to it. But yeah, so this one has to deal with that. And as you mentioned, Kit gets a grappling hook early on this episode, which Devin admires. Why? What a remarkable fisherman Kit would make. I'm like, all right.
It's a very Devin thing to say. So.
Yes. So yeah, when Michael immediately when he goes into town is like ambushed by bulldozers, like they're like, that's it, the one that says Knight. And he's like, they say he's coming to help the ranchers. And I noticed, I don't know about you, but there is a lot of like random ADR lines in this episode. Like this is like, granted, they're just showing a bulldozer with no one inside, but there's a lot of whoa type ADR craziness going on that doesn't really like, it's blatant. It doesn't even feel like they're trying to mix it in with the ambiance or anything like that.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah, the explanatory, over-explanatory voiceovers, like who's driving that car? Here, look out. He'll never make it. Yeah, a lot of those generic like throw-in lines. That were 100% recorded after the fact in a Foley studio somewhere or something.
Some guys like just not exciting enough. What do we need? Hillbillies yelling stuff.
Yes, please,
telling us what's happening on screen or what could happen if they don't get it.
It's so interesting too, because again, with this episode, as they've done with a lot of previous episodes, and not only are they trying to like up the wow factor, like like you said, with like making sure that like the action is good and it's using the word, but they're also trying to put Kit and the driving aspect into unique scenes that have never been seen before, that they never have done before. So this, like in this episode, because I was like, when this episode started, I was like, okay, where are we gonna like what's the big unique car draw going to be this episode? And sure enough, it's Kit fighting a bull, which which would not have been on my top 100 list of things that I would have been thinking that I would see in this season. But here we are, Kit literally fighting a bull all by himself
and saying Toro
Orle.
And then when he gets in, he's like, Michael, you may take the bull by the horns, as they say.
It's such a strange, like, and it's such a weird, like, you could tell that they just took whatever footage they could get with the car driving around a bull and just ran with it. Because like some scenes are like they used it at least twice, if not more, where the bull is like standing next to Kit. And they're like, okay, well, this looks exciting enough. And then there's one where Kit jumps over the bull, and it's clearly a fake bull. Kit lands on his head. It's like plastic. It like knocks him down and just falls down. I'm like, right, like. For as great as they have been with all of the things that they've done, like stunt wise, this one phoned it in a little bit, but they probably didn't have a lot of choice because in their head, they're like, yeah, a bull would love to play with a car, I'm sure. And then they got out there to shoot the scenes and they're like, well, this bull ain't cooperating. So let's take what we can get and get out of here.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird Kits because there's the scene, little comedic bit with the dog peeing on Kit. That they try to go with. And then there is one where Kit tells the dog, you do he says, I'm not a fire hydrant. That's how we know he's peeing. But there's one where there's an arsonist guy that Kit chases down acting like he's an alien to the guy to kind of freak him out. And it even has Michael like hides in the back seat so they can pull this off to him.
Literally, he just hides in the back seat, right? And this bumpkin is so dumb that he thinks a Trans Am is a UFO. Like of all the cars you've seen, a Trans Am not that different than the average car. Like not that different. Come on.
No, it just looks cooler, but that's about like I did note that there is interesting use of Kit in the story that they do continue to be innovative with. Like in the finale for this, they like need Kit's speed to get where they're going a lot. Like that's very important. And then he does some bombing to help come out victorious. and plus he plays a very human role in harassing bad guys in this as well. So they
he's
yeah.
His personality continues to grow episode by episode. I think I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it feels like they're easing the audience in to like accepting this inanimate object as a full-on character in the show, like essentially the co-star, which of course he really is. So which it's very interesting to kind of watch and kind of see them kind of continue to do that with Kit. But again, like I said, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it feels like, like you said, more and more they are easing him in, and it's doubly interesting to me if they're trying to make Kit the primary, like the co-star essentially, that William Daniels continues to go uncredited in every episode as Kit's voice. Like he's nowhere in the credits. I'm like, are you joking? Like that's a big deal. Like I feel like that's a big role. Like it's extra difficult to bring an inanimate object to life. Like
right.
I don't know if that was a conscious choice on their part, or this was just before the days where voice work was as respected as it is now, or as big as it is now. But
or maybe they wanted you to see it just as Kit. Maybe there was
that too.
That idea that they wanted to sell this as the car.
You're right. I would have to go back to other 80s shows and be like, did they credit the voice of Alf? Like, or did they want us to just think Alf was Alf? Like, I don't know. I can't remember. So
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like weird reasons they would give for things like that, but yeah, I don't know. It is interesting because William Daniels was like, it's not like he was a nobody. He was probably at a peak of being somebody around there, saying elsewhere. So that is an interesting thing. I wonder if in the later seasons they start crediting him, but
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know.
Maybe
maybe this is a Glenn Larson thing. Like I don't know if he credited. I would have to go back and watch Battlestar to see if he credited the voice work of the Cylons and Imperious Leader. Like I don't know. Like I love that show, but I don't know that I have never paid that close of attention to it. So I'll have to research this one. So
that's interesting. We'll have to take note to see if they credit Frank Welker as Carr later in this.
Yes.
Thing. There's another 80s trope in here that they try to pull off. The guy that Bremen, the head of the business that wants to like take this land. One of the funny things is he's got that scene where a guy comes to visit him and he's at like his pool to visit. There's like the two random ladies just hanging out in the background. And I was like, oh wow, this is your 80s drug lord scene, but they're not going to do a drug lord thing on Knight Rider, but I found it kind of funny.
Yes,
but,
yes, 100%. Yes, it is the very standard like status quo. Yeah, girl in bikini walking by the camera by the pool before the scene officially starts type of thing. Yeah, 100% there, 100%.
Yeah, and Kid, there's a scene where Kit scans the house and stuff just to crash through, and it's like and he has like a air horn or megaphone's like, hey, move to the left, I'm coming through. I'm like, oh, that's okay.
Right, and just hope that she gets out of the way before you barrel through the room that she's in. So
yeah,
and for I know that this is for the 80s, it was very cutting edge, but like it shows, when he says I detect 3 people in the house, and it shows the graphic on his little screen, and it is the straight like it is the Atari. Like I felt like he was playing Pitfall. Like it is as Atari as it gets. It is ridiculous. I was like, oh my god, that can't be real. But
it is futuristic tech looks for them. Yeah, it's great. I recently was talking to my son. He's 10, and he was talking about like, is it goofy for you to watch movies that are set in the future, but the future's already passed by or whatever in real time or whatever the date they give? And I'm like, actually, no, I like it because I always like to see what their vision of the future was, because you always take your future and it always has an infusion of what is now that's never not gonna be present. Like back to the Future 2 actually intentionally embraced that when they made it, because we were already at like 89. They were probably shooting at 88 or 87, so they were like, now the 80s stuff has passed by, but that person's vision of the 80s would be in 2015 would be this. So well, they know the 80s would come back in weird different ways, but but I would know. I'm like, my answer is no. I'm like, I always fascinated by that because I like to see what It's just a date. So you're supposed to be like, okay, future. When they give a date, ha, we already passed it, but Blade Runner's still cool.
Oh yeah.
Even though we passed that date. But yeah, so I always like that with those futuristic things of wondering what they would be. But yeah, so yeah, Michael comes out. They come out victorious in this one again. So we do get to see Devin with a 10-gallon hat on, which fits his office. He's not in his office in this one, but it would fit him sitting in his office with that on.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting him out in the field a bit more. They're trying to put
Mm-hmm.
him in maybe more unique situations. We'll feel that next episode as well, of course.
Yep.
But yeah, they're definitely working hard to now that they've established everyone's kind of traditional roles. I think they're trying to push those limits a little bit to make sure it doesn't to make sure it doesn't become too stagnant. It's not the same thing every single episode for every single character.
Yeah, and be like, these people need to be more than just contacts. Like,
right.
Why am I here? Like, I could understand, like, I don't know what Edward Mulhare was doing otherwise at the time, but like, if this is your main show and you're stuck with it for whatever, like, I'm sure he doesn't like coming in, being in the same set. Like, can I just shoot my scenes for this season, like, in 2 weeks?
Right.
Like, and Patricia McPherson, though, I know she's probably not doing anything, and like, they're like, well, I guess this is my big gig, I guess would be her thing, but like, I would feel like, I'm just stuck in this room. Like,
yeah,
if you're not, I mean, a lot of people like the performer aspect of things, like, why don't people want to stay in roles all the time? Wouldn't you want to do that forever? Like, no, as a performer, you want to do a lot of other things. And when you get past when people want you that you're like, oh, I would do that forever again.
Right.
I want to be like, I need a job. I need something. Like, because you always see like, like not really working a lot actor would play this again. And like, of course they would.
Of course
they would. Like, right. I always see,
because they're sick of going to the conventions on the weekend and talking about it. So of
course
they would.
Because I always see like, it's funny. I love her death, but I always see like Heather Langenkamp would do another Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course she fucking would.
Duh. Right.
Duh. Like,
right.
No shit. But yeah. Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah, that was not a drop. Not a drop to drink. Solid episode. I wouldn't rate it very highly, but it's got some good, interesting aspects. Michael I could tell Hasselhoff had a trim in this episode from the previous one, so might be in a different block or something, or they're like, we need to trim up the Hasselhoff or whatever.
But keep the talent looking fresh.
Yes. Tony, let's shift gears and look on toward the sunset before we hit the horizon. Where can people find you this holiday season?
Yeah, so you can always come and catch me on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, what have you. You can find me at Tony Schaab. And of course, I'm the senior editor over at sciencefiction.com. You can come over there and read the news and the reviews and the end of the year retrospectives and all that good stuff. And we can talk about all the great things that are coming next year too.
All right. Hashtag you'll believe a car can drive. To explain that, the Superman tagline for the movie was "You'll believe a man can fly," and they used, if you didn't know, they used Superman footage in this movie. It was the Dam. So I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brad4KUHD. Written work on whysoblue.com. Head there or to my YouTube channel tomorrow, because if you're listening to this dropping on the day it drops, the 21st, my top 10 Blu-rays and top 10 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays list, which is a video. It's I put a cheat sheet in case you don't want to watch, is dropping tomorrow. So there you go. Check that out. Also, Tim Burton retrospective the epilogue is next Monday with Wednesday. It's got nice thoughts on that. A month after relevancy, but hell, we're there for you. Our thoughts are different. Because they're ours. I don't know. And right back around here next week for another Knight Rider adventure, but from old space.
Brandon and Tony, not so lone crusaders in a dangerous world. The world of Old Space Show.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.